Hi, I'm Tony, this is Slack, welcome to Smog Vlog. Today we're going to be reviewing the new tank by Sense called the Baijiada Mermaid tank.
Merman! Merman! Okay, welcome back. Like we said, we're reviewing the Mermaid tank from Sense. Our buddies at newworldvaping.com have sent this over for us free of charge for review purposes. As always, these reviews are entirely going to be our own. There's no sort of stipulation on what we have to say, nothing like that, so it's going to be the standard review fare. Though I would say it's definitely worth checking out their website because they're awesome site, great customer services, good prices. I used them and that's how I got in touch with Craig at New World Vaping. Anyway, it's not about that, it's about the Mermaid.
So yeah, it's a 2ml tank by Sense, their newest offering. Anyway, let's dive down and have an unboxing for you.
Right, let's unbox the Mermaid. Mermaid's box, brilliant. So yeah, let's a quick tour around the outside of the box. It's a Mermaid tank. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. That is not one for today. Going around the side of the box, atomizer core head pattern. Oh, this is pattern information. That's no fun. Coming around the back, we have one scratch and sniff, and a great little story here. I'll just read you the start of it. Mermaid is a legendary aquatic creature with the upper body of a female human and the tail of a fish. It is Danish national treasure. Yep, that's perfect example of English there. Then some blurb about the Mermaid itself, and it says, Baijiada is my guess at that. Mermaid tank, same as the spirit of Mermaid, is persistent to offer our customers best sub-ohm tank with good flavour, huge vapour production and good customer experience. Well, I'm glad they're only aiming for good customer experience if that's their English translation effort. But it's not about that. So 1 unit, some basic cautions on the side, 18, out of reach of children, high temperatures, and do not use the tank too frequently in a short time, which is probably good advice to avoid those dry hits. Let's get her open. Okay, and we are presented with our tank and nothing else. Right, so we're in. It's pretty much business as usual here. So we've got a black Delrin drip tip, double O-ring, which is nice. Nice sort of wide bore through there. So obviously got the Baijiada, probably saying it wrong. Little picture of a mermaid. You can see your wicking holes down there, so that will have some air bubble fun for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm joking. There's 4 air holes. The adjustment on there, it's a nice stiff, continue all the way round type connection. Talking of connection, come down. You've got a copper 510 centre pin, nice flat one there. Protrudes slightly from your threads. The threads are nice and sharp. They're pretty clean. Yeah, quite impressed with that. Taking my skin off nicely. So let's pull this thing apart. So here's our tank glass. It's fairly small, in line with the tank itself. You've got a removable grommet round here in clear. You can't really see it. It doesn't protrude too much when it's all together, which is good. Let's have a look at the coils in here. Fairly standard looking coil in there. 35 to 100 watts, which is cool. Nice bit of mesh on top. Yeah, standard affair. So you can see the copper centre pin coming all the way through there, which is nice. Pop that back in quickly. Okay, and there's the top of your chimney. There's some rubber at the top there for her pleasure. Yeah, so if you wanted to know what the insides of a mermaid look like, then there you go. Right, it comes pretty clean, as they do mostly nowadays. I am, however, going to give it a clean up. And we'll chuck some juice in her and see what she's got. Oh, filling. Talking of chucking juice in, how do we do that? The filling of juice would be you take the bottom off and fill it in through the gap there, which is standard fare. Now this grommet down the bottom seals pretty tightly actually, considering there's not any juice in there to sort of help it gets stuck already, and this is a clean build where it usually flops out and feels pretty weak. That feels pretty sturdy. Right, let's give it that clean up, chuck some juice in it, and see what it's got. Back to the studio.
Okay, so while Tack takes a hit on the new Mermaid tank, Merman, it's important to note the coil options that come with it. It's obviously based on the Heracles Plus coil, which means you're going to get a load of choice. You've got Canthol, stainless steel and nickel. But inside the box it comes with
the 0.4 Canthol coil, which is my favourite of the lot. So yeah, winner winner, chicken dinner. Or mermaid. I wonder if mermaids taste like chicken. Probably.
Depends if they're, reared or whether they're wild or
wild caught mermaids.
Nah, it's going to taste like shit because they'll just eat anything, won't they?
Yeah.
Dirty bastards. In terms of an RBA section for the Mermaid, nothing that's included in the box, unfortunately.
Yeah, not only not included in the box, can't find any trace of one either for the Heracles Plus, easy for me to say, or just there. So third-party manufacturers came out and did one for the actual original Sense Heracles, so maybe that's going to happen, but right at this moment, no RBA section, so if that's your bag, I'm afraid you're missing out. Next up, airflow of the tank. Well, it's got those 4 little air holes around there, and it works really well. It's not like the least restrictive thing I've ever used, but at the same time, for such a tiny tank, it's got like beast-like performance. So yeah, it is really good. I was really surprised when I thought it was really going to struggle with airflow and flavour and stuff, but it performs like a bigger tank, which is good, which is definitely good.
So yeah, in terms of a direct lung hit, considering it's such a tiny tank, the airflow on it, as Slack said, is fucking amazing for such a tiny tank. Tiny tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, tiny tank. One of the important stipulations with this tank is that it is only a 2 mil capacity, which is fucking tiny, like the tank itself. But apparently that's what the TPD says that we're supposed to be good with.
Yeah, any bigger and you're just irresponsible apparently. So yeah, kind of get used to it, guys. Yeah, it's not too bad actually. You do need to keep refilling it a lot, but as I use drippers a lot and I have to refill them literally every 3 hits, this is actually pretty good compared to that. You can get like easily sort of like 2 work on a drive with it, and then a few more vapes afterwards. So it's not terrible. And depends on how high you have your wattage, because these coils go really, really high. 100 watts, you can burn it, and you'll just watch that chew through. However, if you're vaping, I like to vape around the 50 odd mark with this. I think that's sort of right for me, flavour and temp and stuff, and yeah, it lasts alright actually. It lasts better than I thought it was going to be, especially after things like the Aspire Colito. And the Raphael from UWell, yeah, they just drink juice. You literally watch them draining, and they're bigger tanks. Whereas this, it's sort of you watch them draining, but it's a smaller tank, so you expect that. So yeah, it's alright.
Now on to ease of filling for the tank, and as you would expect, it's a pain in the arse. You've actually got to take the tank off the device, unscrew the bottom, and then fill it up from there. But not just that, because of the size of the chamber in the middle. To give you an idea, I was not filling up from a usual bottle. I was filling using the big one-hit wonder bottles.
Yeah,
that went badly for me.
Yeah, they're quite unforgiving. Quite a thick top.
And what with the fact that the Mermaid has the juice holes drilled out to allow wicking of the coil. You just sort of like, okay, I can't go on that bit because there's a hole there, so go on the bit in between because that's a bit of metal. But then the juice comes out, and then you're like fucking, and yeah, you're wearing it after a while. But it's just the annoying fact that it should have been a top fill.
Yeah, all devices should be top fill, so always marks down for not being a top fill. And obviously, yeah, with this is a smaller device, there's a lot less room between that glass and the internal chimney there, so your glass dripper is a little bit more fiddly, and if you're going for anything bigger, then yeah, it's game over really. But if you're using the normal sort of needle plastic bottles, yeah, that's fine. It's just pretty much a standard affair there. So yeah, you just have to transfer it to unicorn bottles, which is what comes with the one-hit wonder stuff. You lazy bastard. Okay, now we're going to talk about the sturdiness of the tank. Now, for a really little tank, this is just like built like a brick shithouse. It's awesome. It just feels like a really expensive, really good quality tank. It doesn't feel like loose or wobbly or, you know, any sort of complaints there at all, which again, I'm surprised about. This is a tiny tank. This is a cheap tank. And yeah, it's good.
It feels like it will take definitely a few knocks.
Yeah. I mean, so the only thing that, for me, always marks a tank down in my eyes is the plasticky Delrin drip tips. Now, that's fine. I know why it's there. You know, it makes sense. But you know, that's the only thing about it that makes it feel. If that was a solid metal drip tip, this would feel just as solid as the crown or anything else. Like, you know, really well made. So yeah, they've done really good.
Seeing as Slack's just touched his drip tip, yeah, let's talk about the Delrin drip tip now.
Yep, so I'm not a fan of the Delrin drip tips. However, it works really well. It's good at keeping the temperature down because where this is a small unit, it gets fairly warm. But this just works really well. And actually, getting over my fear of Delrin, it's fine. It's fine.
Not just the fact that it's a small tank, it's also the fact that it's a small tank able to take you up to 100 watts. That heat transference has got to go somewhere, and luckily it's not all through the drip tip. So
yeah, so this is the tank with the standard metal I-Just2 drip tip on it, and it looks the bomb there. It looks so much nicer, just all that silver, and it fits really well. And yeah, I mean, it's great. Standard drip tips fit, so if you've got a favourite, it'll work on here, which is nice.
in terms of flavour for the Mermaid, it's brilliant. It's brilliant flavour, as you would expect.
Yeah, it's the Heracles Plus coils. If you've got any experience with them, expect exactly the same with like a smaller tank, really. The wicking is slightly less, but the flavour is exactly the same. Works really well. And yeah, it is just great.
Is it just great?
It's just great.
It's great.
I mean, the Heracles Plus was up there with, you know, the Crown and the Reaper Plus, you know, for performance. And yeah, you've got that coil in here, so that's cool.
And great.
And great.
Moving on. Moving along now to Vapour Production. Whilst Slack takes a hit at about 50 watts, we find that the Vapour Production from this tiny, tiny tank is very, very good.
Yeah, so I mean, tastes nice there. We're going to whack it up again. We'll go 77 because that's where we've stopped.
Okay then. 77 watts.
Starting to lose a bit of the flavour there, but yeah, the vapour is hot, but it's not too hot, and yeah, loads of vapour. It's 100 watt time, so we're going to see what it can do, see what our lips can take. Wait, 100 watts, yeah. I forgot this thing goes above 100 watts.
Don't do 200.
No.
Unless you guys want to see 200, in which case,
I'm
leave
not
us a
doing
comment
it.
down below if you want to see Slack take a 200 watt hit.
Sure, and then I'll jump out the window afterwards and set myself on fire. Anyway, it's not about that.
100 watt hit. A very short 100 watt hit.
Yeah.
Is a bit warm. Beautiful. Wow.
It's a bit warm on the lips.
It is.
With that Delrin drip tip. Now, this is where something like the Smog twin skin drip tip would come in handy. You know, extra cooling on the lips. Gentle lips, you know. Let's see what we can get out of this.
Very warm on the intake, and you can actually feel the heat in your lungs, but it's not enough to sort of like make you cough.
Now, aside from the fact that we've done half a tank of juice just doing this bit and we're disappearing in clouds, it's wicking perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Now, well, this isn't a new coil. We've been on this coil for a while, at least a week now, and yeah, it's that helps as well. When I was doing it high wattage with a new coil, it was struggling to wick, but now the coil is sort of like warmed up, you know, so to speak. It's good to go.
Yeah, more recently I've had the tank to do testing on it, and I've been doing it at 100 watts just to, you know, shits and giggles really, and it's been wicking absolutely perfectly. No sort of like stuck air bubbles or anything like that. It's good.
Yeah, where it's quite a compact unit, you do feel the heat more than if it was on like the Reaper Plus or the Heracles Plus, indeed, you know, but for such a small unit, it does it. No problems. So if you like vaping at that high temperature, high power, then it still does it.
Now, moving on to spits and leaks and spits. How have you found it?
No leaks, no spits. Sometimes swallows. No, but seriously,
Good lad.
even at the 100 watts where we were just doing it, and we took quite a few hits there, like no spits coming through at all. It's hot vapour, but no spits, which is really good. Had no leaks out the bottom. Had a little bit of condensation while exhaling through it, which you would expect. Other than that, it's been perfectly fine.
Solid.
Okay, now onto the 510 connector for the device. It's really awesome. Nice copper connector there. Really good. Wasn't expecting that from a tiny, inexpensive tank. So it was nice.
What's important to take away from this bit is the fact that, you know, we've both used it and we've both had to take it off, put it on different things. You have to take the bottom off, obviously, to refill. And in all that time, it is still actually really nice and solid. Good sharp threads.
Yeah, threads came nice and clean, and yeah, haven't had any problems with them, so they've done good.
Okay, now the question you're probably asking yourself, how much does this cost? Well, it's £15 over at New World Vaping.
Yeah, and the coils, they're the standard Heracles Plus coils, and they're going to set you back in the region of about £11 for 5, which is pretty reasonable.
Okay guys, we've reached that special stage in the show where we sum up with pros and cons. As always, we'll start with cons and end with pros on a high. First up for the cons.
Okay, so out of the box, it came nice and clean, looked really good, but when I was cleaning it up, because I always do, one of the grommets on the inside the bottom of the tank there had this really weird white residue on it, so it needed a proper good scrub. So not a problem, just be aware of that. If you're buying one of these, just make sure you give it an extra good clean, because God knows what that weird white residue was. That's a bit of a mouthful.
What's important there is that could just been one that was affected by our particular sample that we had. They might not all come like that, but it's always important to clean any new product you do get, no matter how clean it does look.
Right, next up on the cons list is going to be the small tank size. It's only 2mm, but we're going to have to get used to that, guys, because TPD says 2mm is your limit. So that's fine. Actually, you know, it's not too bad. As long as you're not vaping at the 100 watts and chewing through your juice, it's actually pretty reasonable. It lasted better than I thought it was going to be.
Next up on the cons has got to be that bottom filling system. It is so 2014. I'm so done with it. But it's not all bad because, you know, it is quite economical with juice as long as you're vaping within a good range.
And last up on the cons list is going to have to be the heat of the device. Now, where it's a short device, it does get hotter than similar devices like same coil on a bigger tank. It just comes with the territory. It's not terrible unless you're vaping at that 100 watts, then it is a little bit on the hot side. But if you're vaping in the 50-60 region, it's fine. You know, it is okay. I was actually surprised how well it handled. You know, the heat travels all through the tank itself to keep it cool, and yeah, it's acceptable but noticeable.
And a good segue there, seeing as it comes with the Delrin drip tip, which, you know, dissipates the heat quite nicely, leads us on smoothly to the pros, which is that Delrin drip tip, which we kind of hated in the first instance, but vaping at 100 watts does actually dissipate the heat very nicely.
Next up on the pros list is going to be the airflow. I mean, these 4 air holes on it just perform like a much bigger tank, and I was really surprised. That's kind of the theme for me with this thing. I was just surprised how much I liked it. I was, yeah, 15 quid little tiny tank to me. It's going to be shit. It's not. And everything about it screams bigger tank. The build quality, the air holes, the flavour, and yeah, just the performance in general. Pretty good.
Next up has got to be the flavour that the little bastard produces, because it is really good for the size of the tank. I mean, the airflow that you're getting through it is, you'd expect it to be washed out and just, you know, you either get one or the other, but with the range that you can, you know, go through right away up to 100 watts, it just fucking bangs. It's brilliant.
Yeah, again, a lot of that's going to be the Heracles Plus coil options, and that's going to be the next pro as well. The fact that you can, you know, already there's a selection of coils out there, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in the future, so that's cool.
And lastly, for the pros, has got to be the price. I mean, such an inexpensive unit that is able to produce excellent quantities of vapour and only costing you 15 quid.
Yeah, I mean, it's like brilliant. If you've already got the Heracles Plus, you can have this and just swap your coils in there. You've got a backup tank, you know. Or if you're just looking for a second out and about tank to have in reserve, awesome.
Or if you want to stick it on a tiny mod and do a bit of ninja vaping.
Right, okay guys, that brings us to the end of the review. Like I said, just in summing up, it is a tiny little 2mm tank, but it performs like a much bigger tank. I wasn't expecting much from this and it's really impressed me. So yeah, hats off to Sense, they've done a good job. Talking of doing a good job, be sure to give our buddies over at newworldvaping.com a shout, check out their site.
So anyway guys, thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed what we're doing here. If you have, please drop us a like, do the old subscribe thing. We're all about that. If you haven't, drop us a comment, tell us why. We're all about self-improvement. And be sure to follow us on the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are quite
Chatty.
But anyway guys, that's about it from us. Thank you for watching. Hi, I'm Tony, this is Slack, welcome to Smog Vlog. Today we're going to be reviewing the new tank by Baijiada Mermaid bastard.
Yeah?
Yeah? What?
What? You're just grinning at me. Was I waffling?
Having to vape a tank without a drip tip on feels so wrong. Yeah.
Right, okay, you got... right, okay, guys.
And be sure to follow us on the social media.
Yeah, I'll take it. See how it goes.
You take it. Dirty girl. I got the squeaking sound.
My missus already thinks we're up here having sex.
Have I got something?
Right, come on, let's do this. This, not that. Jesus Christ.
Let's get this party started.